What's up, guys? Steve from Scroll Rips here. Wanted to hop on and touch base on one of the more popular topics that's going on in Pokemon right now, which is the Destined Rivals reprint that was pretty much announced, whether it's formally or informally, just through like social media and all that. But I've been tracking it pretty closely over the last several weeks. It is a set that I'm interested in from a collector standpoint, but also from a business standpoint. So we all know if we've been in the space for a little bit, Destined Rivals, particularly the booster boxes and ETBs, shot up really high in price pretty quick, right? It hit something like close to 600, if not crossing that $600 threshold not too long ago. I think maybe just a couple months ago. And then now we've got word of a reprint coming out. And, typically we see this in different forms. A lot of the idea has been that typically Pokemon's not going to reprint booster boxes of stuff. So maybe like booster bundles, ETBs, that kind of thing. Well, in this particular one, they're doing both ETBs and booster boxes. And I've seen a lot of varying um, information about how much distribution's actually charging for them and charging, whether it be online shops, LGSs, that kind of thing, and then how that's going to actually impact the market price. So, of course, based on the news, right, of the reprints coming, the price of booster boxes, the price of ETBs has decreased quite a bit. I think ETBs, it was as high as $200 in ETB. It's down towards 120, 125, somewhere in that range right now of market price. And then the booster boxes are around like $430 or so, 430, 440 after being at 600. So it's a very steep drop, right? Since the reprints having been announced, or at least a rumor starting, and essentially it has been confirmed. I've seen a lot of people that do have access to distribution and that kind of thing, and seeing the kind of information that they're putting out there. There's pricing kind of all over the place. So, kind of what I wanted to do was just go over that kind of stuff today with this video, and then kind of put it out there for discussion about what we think Destined Rivals is going to do. What's going to be the ultimate outcome once it actually hits the market? Because currently, things haven't hit the market, or at least not on a grand scale, right? We're anticipating it possibly coming out to stores like Walmart and Target and the bigger box stores and that kind of thing, presumably, right? So that obviously can inject more product at the MSRP level. Um, so the kind of the thought process I have is, okay, is it going to be enough at that retail level that it's really going to drop the price or drop the market value so much? So, like, if I were to take a chance on buying a couple cases of ETBs now at the current market price, or sorry, at a price right now that's only like 5% below market price, do I think it's going to hold and go up, essentially? Or is this reprint going to cause the market to crater, right? Because more folks will have access to it at MSRP. Now, realistically, we know a lot of people will be out there trying to scoop it up to be able to flip it pretty quick. Because even if you can get, you get one at $50 and you can flip it for 80, I mean, that's easy money, right? So, like, you could totally undercut current market price. You have GameStop out there that has put out pre-orders for the Destined Rivals ETBs for essentially going to be at the final sale costs of $100 in ETB. Um, I've seen a lot of folks that have access to distro, their distributions charging over MSRP for it at a minimum, and then some of them are charging about 75% of current market. So I mean, we're talking like almost $100 already for an ETB that some of the distros charging. So I mean, if that's really the case across um, a lot of distros, then I don't think you're going to see market price drop a lot, right? Because if they have to pay $90 to $100 in ETB when they go to sell it, to actually make a margin there, it's pretty much going to be at market price. Now, um, those shops or people that might be in a good position with particular distribution that's charging much closer to MSRP, or giving them a potential much greater market price or greater margin to potentially sell at market price. I'd have to think they're not going to be super quick to list them, right? And we're not talking like massive quantities in these either, right? The lower the MSRP, most of them they're getting maybe an opportunity for a couple cases. It's really not that much at that lower price. Of course, the ones that are potentially being charged $90 to $100, they might get an opportunity at a couple more cases, but not a whole lot more. So what I go back to thinking of is, okay, if they go and buy all that they can from their distro at, let's say it's $60 a piece, then more than likely they're going to wait to see probably what happens with the market after everything hits, it hits big box stores, all that kind of stuff, unless they're in real need of cash flow. But I would wait and see, because there's no reason for them to take the 60 or pay 60 per unit and then try to undercut market value right off the bat to try to flip it right away, unless they need the cash flow, right? If they're in a better position, they can hold on to it, see if the market really impacts the value that much, and if it doesn't, they can wait for it to maybe bounce back a little bit, go back to where market is currently at around like 125, and then be able to sell it for that, right? And make that full potential margin, as opposed to not what I call panicking, but just trying to flip it real quick. So again, it depends on their situation, right? But based on that, my theory is, and the fact that some of the shops will be getting charged a lot higher, like that $90 to $100 per unit piece. I wouldn't expect LGSs or online shops and that kind of thing for prices to really go down there, right? And then we know that there's going to be a lot of people, um, let's call them opportunists for now, scoping out retail drops, all that kind of stuff, to try to pick up ETBs at MSRP if possible, and flip them pretty quickly. So I think it's hard to tell at this point, but my personal opinion would be, or expectation would be that it's not really going to drop much under theoretically what GameStop is charging, like $100. I wouldn't expect it to drop below that. And like I said, with LGSs and that kind of stuff, they're not going to be, especially at just a few cases, they're not going to be in a quick hurry to try to panic sell or quick turn it for a very small margin just to make sure they get out from under it, right? Um, I don't think the amounts that are available to them would necessitate such a move, and they could easily stick it on their shelf, wait for the market to bounce back on it, wait for the reprint stuff to sell out from a retailer, the big box stores and that kind of thing. And once those are pretty much disappeared off the shelves, then the price will go back up. And then when they feel like a comfortable margin can be made, then they'll go ahead and list it if they want, or if they're maybe more bullish on it, they might just continue to hold it. They continue to hold it until like a year from now, and sell it for a much greater margin potentially, right? The interesting part too is the booster boxes. While there are going to be booster boxes available, from what I've seen, and this is semi anecdotally, right, but from what I've seen of people with actual access to distribution, is that they're not getting a ton of booster boxes, but it's also a similar situation where the price from distro, it's not like an initial set release where they might get a box at like $100 a piece, and then in today's market it's starting at least 220, right, market wise. It's not like that situation right now. It's over $400. A lot of the distros are charging in the $300 spectrum, right, somewhere between 300 to almost up to 400 in some cases. um, that I've heard, right, from people with distribution. So um, that's not a ton. Like if they're buying at that high of a price from distro, more than likely they're probably going to hold on to it, right? They're going to hold on to it because it's not as liquid currently. So, and what I mean by that is that they would still have to charge close to the, the current market price, right? Around $400. And so if they're spending almost the high threes for per unit booster boxes, then obviously it's pretty obvious the margin's not there. So they're not gonna, again, they're not gonna rush to sell that. They're gonna panic it. Um, maybe if they can sell it to streamers or something that are willing to pay essentially above market for a booster box, but then can charge per pack more because of the streaming platform or whatever situation they have. That situation just doesn't seem likely to me, and it's not enough units for these shops to be afraid of just holding on to the cases and waiting for the value to appreciate. I think there's way more upside in that situation to hold it, let it regain, um, value by selling out at the retail spaces, and then essentially stuff going back to normal on it. Um, I wouldn't necessarily expect it to jump back up, once things kind of settle down, to jump back up to 600. I think 600 for a booster box of it was way too high in the first place. So I think that was kind of an unstable price point. But, and I mean, we're being proved right by the fact that a reprint getting announced has caused it to lose roughly $170 per unit since that peak price. So, all that being said, I think it's a really interesting implication that has on the market as a whole, not just the Destined Rivals market. You'll see, like I said, the ETB prices and booster box prices have definitely come down pretty significantly, especially a good bit since that announcement of the possibility of a reprint. So, but I would not expect it to go down much more, and then I think it will rebound pretty quick. I don't think as many people are going to get access to it at MSRP to really make it worthwhile, because most of these places, like I said, opportunists are going to swoop in, they're going to buy this stuff, they're going to sell it, they're going to flip it real quick, and then before you know it, it's all already been sold on the secondary market. So then those people that bought it, don't aren't really going to have anywhere to like resell it. What I mean? I feel like most of it is more than likely going to get resold. That's at MSRP. Um, just how I see things going there. So appreciate you guys watching to the end of the video. We're actually going to have a follow-on type video to kind of talk about my thoughts on the overall implications of that particular reprint with Destined Rivals. Appreciate you guys watching. Scrowrips.com is where you can buy stuff from me. We have Japanese, Chinese, Korean, and some English product there. And then you can always catch us on our lives, either watching through YouTube live, where you can purchase from our shop and we can rip it on live, or we can definitely send sealed. And then also on TikTok at Scrow Rips as well. And I really appreciate you guys. The support's been great. It's been an interesting summer, and look forward to continuing the journey. See ya.